Welcome to my American History Notes, where I discuss conclusions I've drawn from studying American history. Conclusions you might not agree with, might even be offended by, but you should at least know about these subjects and people and events and places and dates. So, and a lot more to be conversant in American history. This is a very superficial, it's a survey. There's a lot, well, you can go a lot deeper than this, and you will. Many of you know much more about certain subjects than I do. So let's begin. I'm going to be continue talking about Truman's administration. When Truman and family moved to the nearby Blair House while the White House was being remodeled, an assassination attempt was made by Puerto Rican nationalists who tried to shoot their way in, resulting in one dead terrorist and one dead Secret Service man. Truman was unharmed. Russia exploded their first atomic bomb and atom bomb in 1949, so Truman ordered the development of the much more powerful hydrogen bomb, which was first tested in 1952. Russia's obtaining of nuclear weaponry information was not quite the kind of scientific and technological sharing that Truman had wanted, but our government and scientific community were riddled with people who either favored the Soviet state or believed genuinely that the world was better served by everyone having access to the secrets of our military power. The State Department's and the administration's failure to adequately supply and encourage Chiang Kai shek's nationalist Chinese forces resulted in China's fall to the communist rule of dictator Mao Zedong in 1949. Baptist missionary and American spy John Birch had been murdered right after the war by Chinese communist forces, according to Dr. William Grady's research in his book, How Satan Turned America Against God. Chiang fled to Formosa, Taiwan, and set up a Chinese government there. It was beginning to be realized by some that our government and our freedoms were being subverted from within by Soviet agents and those who were not pro American in outlook. Two of the most prominent figures in the attempts to remove communists from power in America were future president, but now a congressman, Richard Nixon, and Senator Joseph McCarthy. Alger Hiss was one of the first and most prominent men convicted of having belonged to a communist front organization. Remember him from the Dumbarton Oaks Conference where the UN Charter was drawn up? Our government, the military, and our entertainment celebrities faced what was later called hysteria, and the so called McCarthy witch hunt was on. McCarthy particularly accused the government of either harboring outright Soviet agents or being soft on communism. The fact that after reviewing the KGB archives in the 1990s, after the fall of the Soviet Union, it was discovered by many that McCarthy was often correct in his accusations, and the fact that Gus Hall, American Communist Party leader, had advocated the overthrow of our government and the murder of our religious leaders, McCarthy, Nixon, and FBI head J. Edgar Hoover are commonly derided and mocked for creating a sort of anti-communist hysteria. Hoover, in particular, is viewed by left-wing historians as being a menace. The truth, as I see it, is that for all of his possible faults, J. Edgar Hoover was an American who fought doggedly and consistently to protect the country from all of its enemies, both domestic and foreign. And the people most likely to be offended by his determined efforts to save his country are probably the most likely to have tried to undermine it in some fashion. McCarthy's biggest error was his shotgun approach to accusations without proof, waving a piece of paper in the air and claiming it contained a list of known Soviet agents in the government and military when it did not, and accusing innocent people of being traitors. In this regard, McCarthy did more harm to the effort to fight communism than he did good. To this day, in spite of recent evidence to the contrary, the effort to expose communist and Soviet infiltration into our society is considered by many to be a dark time in our history and likened to the Salem witch trials. And we have a huge event having to do with Korea that coming up next. We'll talk about next time. And I thank you. I hope you'll study American history, come to your own conclusions, make your own statements based on those conclusions, and share them with people. Thank you very much.